your mouth, better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck, run up on you like. This ain't a game, my aim is to throw. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
Welcome back to another day here of the Kartrider Drift League here in 2023. My name is Wolf. I'm joined by State today. We have 2 team matches coming at you guys and one of our groups here in the round of 16 for solo matches as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time, man. Weekend Kartrider Drift, my favorite time of the week, really. Every single solo match has been stellar this far. With some of the new rules, we haven't really gotten anybody with those 3 wins in a row, but I feel like maybe today we have a chance. So there's a lot to look forward to today as we get a quick look at the standings. As for the teams playing today, kind of a low-stakes match to start things off. With FINALEe versus NUTMITE. NUTMITE right now might have a shot of making the wild card round in the playoffs, but for FINALEE-sports, I think they're just kind of trying to stop the bleeding at this point, you know?
Yeah, it's important for those teams to take a win. We'll take a look at today's predictions as well. They are heavily favored by the fans here against NUTMITE. FINALEe, that is. On the opposite side, you'll see a very similar ratio here, but MIRAENSEJONG massive favorites against Desperado. That match, on paper, definitely more one-sided than the first one, but stronger teams, so I think we'll see a really good game there. Then you look at the predictions on the bottom side of things here for the solo match, and Luning holding up a ton of that fan vote. Earlier today, he was actually over 70 as well. The guy is just really a big fan favorite tonight.
Yeah, well, you were high on Luning from preseason 1, if I remember correctly, and for good reason. He's one of the best players in the league, and he's certainly proved it. We have our teams coming onto the stage. We are speedrunning through.
Yeah.
This pre-show, FINALEe-sports, kind of the reformed Old Rocks esports club on stage. But of course, after Jung retired, it's been hard for them to fill the void. I know they brought in Hong between preseason 2 and here in the regular season of KDL. Partly because he's a very well-rounded player. He's both good at speed mode and at item mode. But as of yet, this kind of Old Rocks roster coming onto the new FINALEe hasn't really been able to get too much done. And I'm actually very surprised, Wolf, that they are favored so heavily here against NUTMITE because, at least from my perspective, I'm thinking NUTMITE is probably favored in this matchup.
Well, I think, you know, you look at NUTMITE, I agree. I would actually favor them as well. They have the better record so far this season, albeit by 1 win. But I think NUTMITE has a lot more unproven talent, whereas on the side of FINALEe, a lot of their players are very famous, right? You look at some of the players here, Scald, someone everybody knows, Wave, Snoopy as well, the item ace. But these players aren't as well known as the players on FINALEe, players who do extremely well in the solo matches as well. So perhaps it's just the fame of those players that gives the fans the right to predict them, even if they're maybe not favorites tonight on our eyes.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Kartrider has, you know, one of the longest history in esports out here in Korea. So fans of the show, especially the Korean fans that are generally the ones to vote on those kind of predictions, generally tend to favor the veterans, the tried and true. And for today, that's going to be FINALEe-sports, but coming into this Saturday, they're 0-4 overall in the standings. So they're saying it's not over until it's over, but we were kind of joking in the pre-show that it kind of is over for these guys.
Yeah. If they win all of their remaining matches and a certain set of circumstances, very complex ones do happen, they could get that wildcard match. But if they lose today, I'm pretty sure that mathematically they will be out. So yeah, one last chance to start the miracle run. Peanut bomb, still just a peanut anyways. These are always one of the best parts of the KDL.
Yeah. FINALEe esports coming in. As you said, with the round robin format, of course, having 8 teams, you only have 7 matches before you head into the playoffs. And so for FINALEe esports, the best they could hope for is 3 wins and 4 losses and some kind of tiebreaker with a second round differential. But those differentials are not very good. So I think they just kind of want to stop the bleeding, try to end this season on a high note. And NUTMITE, there is a chance that they can make for that wild card position, given that they have 1 win already in the books. They're looking to try and stop their losing streak now. Hopefully Will be able to lead them to a victory. And so far in speed, it really has just been Will leading the charge. He's by far the best racer on this team in team speed mode. He's actually one of the best racers in the league, as you could see, all the way up there in 5th. But kind of similar to Rock's Esports in Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, they often, if they won with speed, it was with Jung in first place and a 1-2 finish with one other racer, right? And it feels like with Jung gone, Will is kind of following that ace role in speed, but there isn't anyone really to back him up. They're not getting any 1-2s.
Yeah, the most important thing is the unbreakable spirit. They joked this unbreakable Will as well, with Will on this roster. There's a famous quote from Deft. Of course, if you guys follow other games here in Korea, you've definitely heard this quote. But I think for me, I look at Scald as one of the big standout players on this roster as well. He's been more of a sweeper type so far for them, but definitely a very skilled player, has had some decent performances in solo as well. Taking a look at the track list today, we're going to Mexico Touring Rally, then Glacier Extreme Stadium, which is my new favorite track. It's just become my favorite. Those hairpins always just get me really excited. Then we'll go to Mind Winding Slopes, World Tour Terracotta Twister, much later in this track list than we normally see it, and we'll end things on Shanghai Circuit. We won't be going to Village, Bayside Bridge Run, or Boom Hill Tunnel, 2 of the more popular maps here in the KDL, both banned away.
Yeah, and surprisingly, NUTMITE, after winning the coin toss, actually took item priority, which I wasn't especially expecting here against FINALEe esports. I think that NUTMITE has a good chance to beat FINALEe in speed mode if they have the tracks that they're prepared on, but suppose they want to focus more on item, and we'll see how that strategy is going to play out for them as we get ready to dive right into FINALEe esports versus NUTMITE. It's going to be track number 1 here to kick things off in speed, WKC Mexico Touring Rally.
Off we go, FINALEe esports versus NUTMITE. These 2 teams are struggling quite heavily here in this 2023 team season. Starting things off with Scald and Will leading the pack.
Yeah, wow, NUTMITE actually off to a really good start here with Will and Wave, as well as Scald basically leading the charge right out of the gates. Now, FINALEe is fighting back here on this long sweeping turn as we enter one of the downhill sections here on Mexico Touring Rally. And you know, with the collisions on this track, it's worth noting that with the new patch, of course, if you have these collisions with other racers, no longer is your nitrous gauge getting diminished as it was in Preseason 1 and Preseason 2. This is a new patch, and as a result, really a bit more of a combative style from FINALEe coming through, and so far they've been winning these body fights. Now they have a big lead. Yeah,
DDING here starting to build up a quite large lead over everybody else. Duzzi and Hung blocking here. Scald is going to actually try to approach, but won't be able to maintain that lead here on that turn. And top 3 going over to FINALEe esports here is going to be tough to crack on this track because a lot of it is very narrow. It's a 1-lap track as well, so not a lot of distance to cover here. And someone is going to have to break through and create some disruption. Maybe it'll be Scald here.
Actually a big mistake there, I believe, by Woojin on Team FINALEe, who collided with that wall. Wasn't quite anticipating the turn, and so Scald's going to have a chance here taking this inner line to disrupt the 1-2. Of course, 1-2 is a win condition here in speed mode. If Scald can break it up, there is a chance that NUTMITE is going to be able to edge ahead, but there's only 400 meters left to go.
Yeah, they're going to need to make something happen. There's just not a whole lot of space here, though. Hong and DDING controlling it the whole way through, despite Woojin making that big mistake earlier with a collision. And the middle of the pack being dominated by NUTMITE. They just could not crack there. And that's one of the things about Mexico is when you're in these tight corridors, you don't actually have an opportunity to try to outline somebody, try to take a tighter line, take a risk, because there's finite opportunities. So starts on 1-lap tracks like this are so important. And you can see why here. FINALEe, pretty dominant start to this series.
Yeah, actually, watching how confident Hong and DDING were able to take that final straightaway, I'm wondering whether Woojin actually just sacrificed himself to try and kind of ping-pong off of the wall and then just disrupt the follow-up players there for Team NUTMITE. As you know, for Team FINALEe, when you recognize that kind of win condition, this is something that we see a lot of the good teams do in speed mode. You just identify, is it going to be a 1-2? Are we going for like a 2-3-4? How are we going to close this thing out? Yeah. And then you have players that can just come in and basically sacrifice themselves to try and sweep. So perhaps that was what Woojin tried. In any case, he wasn't really able to get the disruption that he wanted, but FINALEe didn't need it. They take track number 1.
Yeah, you can call it sacrificial sweeping, you know, perhaps, but definitely could be a way to further that lead for your top 2 runners. We are moving into our second track now, Glacier Extreme Stadium, to see if NUTMITE can tie us up 1-1.
And off we go on the snowy slopes of Glacier Extreme Stadium. FINALEe leading this best of 5 in speed mode 1-0.
Yeah, and already FINALEe with a great start here. Vega trying to break through, unfortunately not quite able to make that happen there. Look for a tighter line here. Okay, that's a nice recovery.
Yeah, but it is a 1v3 situation right now. He needs Will and Skull to come up and try and lend him some support. Now Will, with this tight inner line, is able to actually work his way up into top 3, trying to see if he can catch on to Ding. Oh, he went for a very ambitious inner pass, but not being able to trade well there, and now Hong can actually just kind of sweep him away.
Yeah, Hong sweeping very good there on some of those corners, and oh, Will hits the corner as well. Now Vega trying to catch up, but look at how much distance is between Hong and Woojin and Ding, so they can take the most aggressive inner lines here without any fear of someone knocking into them, and that gap is widening substantially here in this first lap.
Yeah, Woojin and Ding are basically in time trial mode, and they get draft off each other too, so I'm expecting to see Duzzi and Hong both try and do the most ambitious blocking they can. Hong was trying to box out Scald, unable to make it happen, but there's a lot of room to play with collisions here if you're Hong, and it's similar to track number 1. If you're on FINALEe right now, you're just looking for that 1-2 finish.
And you want to just stop Scald when we get to hairpins. Once the hairpins happen, that's going to be his best chance to try to outmaneuver them there, but the gap is so wide, it's going to be tough. Now Vega actually getting closer here as well. Nice bump forward is going to push him closer. Ding here in a little bit of danger of getting past as we move towards those hairpins here in just a moment. This is your chance, NUTMITE.
Oh, NUTMITE Vega coming through with that draft, able to pass and work his way up into second place. Now NUTMITE, Vega and Scald, if they can unseat Woojin here from first place, they might have a chance to actually bring this one home, but 400 meters left to go. Vega's gonna take this wide turn, but on this straightaway, I don't think there is enough speed, and FINALEe with a not even 1-3-5, a 1-3-4 finish. Gonna take 2 tracks in a row, and I gotta say, I was expecting NUTMITE to put a little bit more of a fight up here in the first couple of tracks, but FINALEe is looking so good today in speed mode.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's been about the starts being so fantastic here. I mean, this has kind of been, ever since Kart Rider Drift came out, the way that the best teams have found success is to get that 1-2-4. Usually the person in 4th place is going to create disruption for the 3rd player, and then you kind of have this 3v1 situation, and even if there are the rest of the teammates trying to pass that 4th place player, harassing him, trying to get ahead of him, it becomes very difficult for them to efficiently do so. And if you can actually, in the first 500 meters of the race, have 1, 2, and 4 set up, or 1, 2, 3 if you're fortunate enough to be there, it's just so hard to catch up. And FINALEe is playing like they're Kwangdong freaks, in terms of these starting block, the ways they're taking that 1, 2, and 4 position so carefully and so decisively. It's hard to say this is a team that's 0-4 right now. It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised how well they've been able to work this 1-2 finish, despite the fact that the sweeping, although they're going for the right strategy, hasn't been as good as it can be. They just don't need it. Let's see if they can close this one out in team speed here on Mine Winding Slopes.
Off we go here in round 3. FINALEe-sports on speed match point here, 2-0. And once again, a decent start, but not quite what we saw from them in the last 2 tracks here. A lot more competitive.
Yeah, NUTMITE with a much better beginning here, and it's going to be Will, notably, coming into that top 3. But, oh, man, he hugs the wall a little bit too tight. He's been going for some really tight angles to start off these tracks, and it hasn't really been a winning formula for him. He's have to try and fight his way back up, but you can already see Ding starting to create some distance here in first place.
Yeah, he really is. Wave needs to really hold on to this position here. They can then start to force Woojin out, but oh man, Woojin, he changed sides so carefully there. Didn't lose any momentum.
We were talking about how the sweeping for FINALEe hasn't been quite as good as it really can be in terms of potential, but Woojin right there in the first quarter or so of this track was able to land some really big body checks both on Wave and on Will, so Ding in a very comfortable first place position. Woojin still in a good spot in 4th place.
Yeah, Wave with a really nice line there to try to close some of that distance, but Ding is just taking the tightest ones possible because he has enough space there in the front. FINALEe, of course, winning in the middle of the pack battle. You saw that track show up there. Look how far behind Vega is. It's massive how far back he and Scald are, so you really need to get 1-2 here. basically, or else you're done as NUTMITE. And I don't know if it's going to happen. But
Yeah,
that sweep.
Hung is even bullying Will here, so it's going to be a 1-2-3 finish. FINALEe esports sweeping speed mode here against Team NUTMITE, and I guess NUTMITE had the right call after winning the coin toss to favor item mode, because speed was not close, and frankly, that's really surprising to me. I mean, coming into today, the average rank for NUTMITE much better than Team FINALEe, although arguably their opposition so far in the regular season hasn't been as great. Their win rate more than 10% greater than their opponents, but today just get absolutely dominated in speed, and FINALEe is going to try and close this one out here in item mode.
Yeah, I mean, FINALEe, that was one of the most dominant performances we've seen here in the 2023 season. That was very straightforward, sweet, and to the point, and we mentioned it, you were just talking about the strength of schedule was much harder for FINALEe leading into this, so it does look like, if you haven't really been paying attention, oh, this must be the weakest team in KDL, but that's just simply not true. We will, of course, have our item aces subbed in. Plansy will be coming in here for Ujun, a very well-known item ace. You mentioned his history, of course, with Rocks, and see how he's performing today. I ran into him earlier. He was talking to his teammates. He didn't look like he was phased at all about going into today's matchup. Looked like he was in good condition, and that is, of course, very critical. Snoopy, of course, will be the item ace for NUTMITE. Not as well known as Plansy, I would say, but definitely a familiar face here in KDL.
Yeah, and some of these rookies coming in, or these lesser-known players in item mode, whether they be a hybrid player or an ace, or specifically an item specialist, have been really able to kind of turn the meta on its head, both in preseason 1 and preseason 2. I remember going from basically the wombo combo setup to a lot more tempo-based and aggressive in preseason 2 for a time. And oftentimes when there's a big shakeup in item mode in terms of meta, in terms of play style, historically here in the KDL, we've had about a year of experience as the track list comes in. It's the pro teams that are really struggling, and some of these rookies, just, I guess, a fresh set of eyes on a new meta, seems to be playing pretty well.
Yeah, and I think obviously speed is much more related to what we saw in Kart Rider League, whereas the item mode is quite different here. So the skill set you haven't always honed throughout most of your career if you are a veteran. We are going to World Tour London Night, so you got the item priority, and you're going straight into London Night here. For Mushroom Caves and Polar Halfpipe here, Polar Halfpipe a tricky one. And those are the two ones, London Night and Polar Halfpipe. I feel like you have the most old school, like PS1, Preseason 1 style of play where you can finish things off with the last push, but it has been otherwise much more tempo-based. FINALEe with a incredible start in this series. We'll see if NUTMITE can turn it around starting here on World Tour London Night.
And we begin item mode here on London Night. Team NUTMITE fighting to stay alive and force an ace match. FINALEe looking to sweep this thing with item mode and pick up their first victory of the regular season.
Yeah, would be massive for them to do so. Again, chances basically zero that they are making their way into postseason with the start that they have had, but can at least make that fan prediction go true. Drawbridge is going to be a bit tough to clear here.
Yeah, the attacks coming through right on the drawbridge just take so much momentum. It's really funny when the cars just don't have enough torque to actually get the way up, even with these heroic tiers and the extra gears that we have in this new patch. Now, as you were saying, well, London Night, one of these more old school maps in terms of play styles here, as it is a 2-star track, it's not a 3-star track, and if you're wondering why that matters in something like Pro Scene, if you haven't been following up with the latest patch, we have a couple of new items such as the Siren, the Radar, and the Big Banana, which we occasionally see here on the 3-star tracks, which mix it up a little bit. It makes it harder to build the perfect combination, and whether it be Lightnings or Angel Shields, Nitrous, and Magnets, to go for that kind of finish line focused play. We have a lot more tempo play because of that. Also with the heroic tiers, these carts are so much faster. But here on London Night, just the architecture of the map and how many items there are, oftentimes we still see teams going for this combination setup because it can be so good. And you see that right there on the screen.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody is trying to set up. Everyone has a Nitrous. Everyone's looking for a Magnet. We have
Angel
a lot of
stack.
Guardian Shields.
Yeah, and I mean, this track is really about what you get on that third lap. You know, if you're lucky enough to pick up a Magnet here while you're holding Nitros, you can see everyone's slowly trying to make sure they can clear those items. If you have that Nitro combo, then you absolutely can use it to win the race, especially with as thin of the margins as we see here. As Ding dropping behind is going to go for that supportive role. Angel Shield plus Lightning.
Yeah, Hong actually here for FINALEe does have that combination. He's the only racer with both a magnet and a nitrous, and he's hanging back a little bit right now because he wants to pop this magnet at the right time. Now he has the nitrous in the back. Oh, he gets blocked there by Wave. We'll see if that's enough. Wave blocking again. Hong barely able to get to first place. I mean, the blocks from Wave were almost enough that despite having an inferior item setup, NUTMITE almost still won that one. That was crazy out of Wave.
And they set Hong up for success. When we saw the drop back there, the lightning came out, then the angel shield, so he knew he was going to be in range basically to finish. I mean, he was a few meters away where he was blocked during that nitro, but he still was able to maintain that speed just long enough. Look at the margin between him and Will, actually just 0.02 seconds there. The difference in terms of how fast he was able to, or how much faster he was able to cross the finish line. First place is all that matters in item mode though, and he was able to do that first. So very close, very competitive first track here, but as we were kind of alluding to, that is the way London Knights played, and that's how they're going to take the win.
Yeah, we probably won't have finishes quite like that one unless we get into some of these later tracks. You know, if we go to Polar Half Pipe and map 4, Half Pipe, excuse me. If we go to Half Pipe there in map number 4, then maybe we'll have another chance for this, but otherwise, it's going to be a little bit more tempo-based, I think, as we get ready to move on to Forest Mushroom Caves. And I'm wondering whether FINALEe is going to be able to close this one out with a clean sweep, man. Looking to get a victory here in item mode and seal the deal in this best of 3. Let's see if they can pick up another win here on Forest Mushroom Caves as item mode continues.
Off we go. FINALEe 3-0 in speed. They're 1-0 in item. After going 0-4 this season, maybe they'll actually finish today with a 6-0. All they need to do is win 2 more tracks, as this barrier's going to cause some issues early.
Yeah, and remember how we were talking about there is some possibility, some miraculous chance that if they play everything perfectly from here on out, they might qualify for that wild card spot. If you win 3-0 in speed and potentially 3-0 in item, that goes a long way towards being not just your set differential, which is going to be +2, but the round differential, which is going to be +6.
Yeah, it is exactly, I mean, it's the best case scenario. It's exactly what's going to put you ahead of somebody who ties with you when we are looking for that wild card spot later on, if they can pull it off. Now, notice it's a huge lead here for Hong, who's got 2 shields. So the tempo-based style that State was talking about earlier is to often get someone ahead and then just have them try to stack double shields. He picked up double shield off of that item block there as well. He will lose first, but you can get a pretty huge lead and eat a lot of items to allow the rest of your team to look for one of those combos, look for a lightning, fish for those late-game items, you know, from the back of the pack. That's what Duzzi is looking for here. It's actually Scald, however, who does have that lightning in hand currently in our second lap.
Yeah, FINALEe is holding on to 1 Angel Shield in total. Ding is holding on to that right now, and it's going to be critical that he doesn't rotate that out at an inopportune time, given that Thunderbolt actually gets a second one, too. So Ding here in pole position for Team FINALEe with double Angel Shield is just going to be trying to basically absorb as much damage as he possibly can, take the aggro from Snoopy, eat these water wisps, if at all possible, and hope that Plancy, Duzzi, and potentially Hong there in the rear ranks will be able to pick up some tempo, because Ding, he's kind of just, I don't want to say Trojan horse, but with double Angel Shield, he's not looking to finish this one.
Yeah, I mean, Snoopy has Magnet, but he doesn't even really have him with the Magnet towards Scald, pushes ahead with Wave here, and I think that's going to do it. Not going to be the clean sweep. No 6-0 today for FINALEe. As NUTMITE finally get on the board here. And I think that FINALEe were really banking on that Lightning being a winning strategy and trying to push for a finish with it, but they just couldn't actually get control of the top of the pack in any way, shape, or form. They didn't have the right items. So, as you mentioned, you know, double Angel isn't going to how you're going to force your way to the finish line as the front runner.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to say, I forgot because we haven't seen NUTMITE win yet today until now, but you know how like they have a little GIF set up where the players all do some kind of pose? I feel like every time I see NUTMITE doing this on the big screen, it's like they're assembling to be like a big, what is it, like Power Rangers or something?
Yeah,
like everything's going to come
Voltron.
together. Yeah. It's one of my favorite victory poses that we have here in the KDL. It's so much fun. Actually, I hope NUTMITE is able to force the ace match just so we get to maximize the amount of times we get to see that here today. But
And Snoopy will form the head.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the brains of the operation, right? He's the item ace. He's got to be the head.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But this is a huge turnaround, right? We're going to Mind Magma Cavern now, which is a similar type of track to the previous one. There are some timings you can run on this one at the end where you could kind of launch your way over onto the higher ground and finish that way. But otherwise, it is pretty similar. It's Mother Load, actually, I believe.
Yeah, they baited you.
They baited me. They baited me in the lobby. So no, it's Mother Load. So again, like I was saying initially, more similar to the previous track we saw at Mushroom there. But we'll see if NUTMITE can take that momentum and win 2 in a row. They need to win item mode to force an ace match, and maybe that momentum shift will happen here.
And NUTMITE 2-track wins away from forcing an ace match that I think everybody here would want to see as we get started on Mine Mother Load. And as a 3-lap track, it's one of the longer ones that we have here in item mode. And I'm wondering how these 3-star items are going to play in. We already saw the first item pop right there with the Siren because, you know, 2-star tracks, even though if they aren't set up like London Knight or like Polar Halfpipe, they can still be tempo-based, but once you go into the 3-star tracks and it really becomes difficult to stack up items like Thunderbolts, like Nitrous and Magnets on just one racer because, you know, there's more items that you cycle through. It's the probability of you getting that kind of setup is way less. It needs to be more tempo-based, but so far, no one really able to pull ahead.
Yeah, Snoopy had a really nice banana placement there, forced out a shield. He's going to get got by that barricade, though.
He got
didn't see that. I didn't see that. I mean, that's a rare moment there where you've actually had the barricade so well spaced that like lands on top of a racer, essentially. That's what did happen. That's actually going to give Plansy the lead here, the item ace himself. He's holding a shield and a nitro. Not a whole lot of alarms or sirens rather going off here. Scald holding on to one right now. They're so useful in these choke points when everyone's stacked up, as you can see here. But it's, you know, that's often when you're sweeping for your player in the lead. Snoopy's in second at the moment, so it's helpful for Scald, but it isn't going to win you this race. You're still going to catch Plansy. That Wisp will do the trick.
Yeah, that Wisp is a good start here on lap number 2. Although the water bombs, I got to say, that's a pretty nice one coming through. So had multiple players get caught. Siren once again here for Scald. He continues basically playing a sweeping role here. His teammate's going to try and give him a boost to get up that hill. Of course, if you receive an attack in a position like that one, it's tough to really recover on the uphill, but Snoopy with an EMP able to disable this UFO. He's still sitting pretty in first place and actually has a shield and an EMP again. So this is kind of an ideal situation, but the Thunderbolt will come through.
I was going to mention that he only wants to fish for an EMP, and he gets it right as you're mentioning that. And he's got shield and EMP. EMP already blown here, but the shield is still up, and he's getting closer and closer to the finish line. Can't take this next shortcut here. Blocks that with the shield. And Plansy trying to close the gap here. 500 meters to go. No items in hand. I think Snoopy should be able to guess. Oh, he's barricaded! No way!
The barricade comes in. He does have double shield, but losing all that momentum right before this uphill section. We'll see if FINALEe with a boost is going to be able to get enough momentum, but no, Snoopy still barely powering through. Kind of a moment where your heart kind of sinks into your chest because of all the ways to lose an item mode. You don't want to lose to a barricade.
Yeah, I mean, barricades trolled him twice, and that last one there, I mean, that's a really small portion of the track. I mean, there's not much he can do to avoid it, unfortunately, but getting caught by that really hurts, and he is, thankfully, for his sake, able to finish in first place, and will bring them to item mode match point here, so they can continue that momentum. Maybe we'll go to an ace match, but was very close. Shouldn't have been. No, barricade's usually not the one that's going to get him. He's like, I got shields, I got EMP, I'm not worried about a barricade. But it almost stopped him right in his tracks.
Yeah, it's like watching an old Acme cartoon or something, you know, with like the Roadrunner trying to get away. It's like he's painting the tunnel and the mountain, and Stewie's just like, I'm gonna go through this one, but it's a barricade, and he gets got. We'll see if NUTMITE is able to close this one out and force an ace match here as we move on to track number 4. It's gonna be one of those classic wombo combo maps here in item mode, Glacier Polar Halfpipe.
NUTMITE on speed, or rather item, excuse me, match point here to try to tie this series up. And barricades out again.
What is with these barricades today, man? I feel like we almost never see this, but it seems like at least one of these teams, or potentially both of these teams, have gotten so good at kind of visualizing where this space is going to be, where the barricades are going to pop, because if you know the maps well enough, you actually can kind of visualize it and try to preempt it and really get somebody if they're within your line of sight. But
and honestly, this track too is one of the best ones for barricade because it's just constantly narrow. It's a half pipe, as its name suggests, and towards the end of the lap, we'll see, and you guys will be able to identify it with us, along with us. There's a high ground portion you can get to, and you can use the magnet to get up there, or you can magnet from there to actually win it, and it is right at the end of the track. So, you know, we get to the end of this lap, we'll try to point it out for you guys, but that is the kind of timing we were talking about. Will currently in first here, Ding passes him, does hold 2 shields, going to eat a lot of aggro with that, and he just did.
Okay, here's a magnet. We'll see if he's able to... Oh, he's actually not going to try and get up onto the high ground here. This shortcut, as Wolf was pointing out, is in fact Will's going to take it. Although it's not... unless you have a really good item setup when you take it, it's not quite the game changer that you might think it would be in lap number 1 and lap number 2. In lap number 1, I was watching the minimap, but I think actually 2 different FINALEe players were able to get up on that shortcut, but they still lost a lot of tempo there. For a moment, Snoopy and Wave were ahead of everybody, but now we're entering track number 3, and this is when the items that are in the inventories really start to come into play. I see Plancy right now with a magnet and a nitrous, Hong as well on Team FINALEe with double nitrous. They certainly are looking to make use of that shortcut.
Yeah, they definitely are looking to do exactly that. With the Angel set up here for Duzzi as well, it's really difficult to pass. Will trying to sneak his way through here. Plancy holding onto that nitro. No attack items here as long as he times this well.
Oh, and he gets an EMP too, so that's not going to be able to block any. Oh, it blocks the UFO. It does not block the Water Wisp. Wave right now in first place. Plancy, I don't think he's going to be able to boost up. Actually, he gets enough speed somehow to be able to pass both Wave and Will there on the straightaway, and the arms go in the air as FINALEe is going to bring us to a track number 5 here in item mode. They are still, or they are now, I should say, 1 track win away from sealing this thing off after winning team speed.
It is a very close item race here, and I thought he was going to toss that Wisp out right away. He knew he had the speed. That's the confidence you've got as the item ace. You know what items you do and don't need. You know that boost is going to be enough, and that's, you know, there's 1 item box right before the finish there, and he's like, I live or I die. I'm boosting. Somebody hits me with something. That's the end of it, but I should otherwise have enough speed against everything they've already tossed out to finish. So we're going to a rare one here in San Francisco Seaplane Base, actually, for our final track. You know, one of the newer tracks here, 3-star, one that we don't see very often. It's going to be the one, though, that decides whether we're going to an ace match or if FINALEe is going to take this one 2-0. Very tense here as we move into the 5th track.
Here we go on the streets of San Francisco. NUTMITE, if they win this track, will be able to force an ace match and keep their hopes up, basically making the wild card alive here. FINALEe-sports, if they win this track, they're going to be able to avoid that ace match. They're going to pick up their first win of the regular season, and as they said in the introductions to the team match today, it's not over until it's over. They are still going to fight until the end, and certainly they're putting up a great fight so far, Wolf.
Yeah, Snoopy got hit by another barricade.
Oh, did he?
just a side comment there. Not too impactful just yet here in this first lap.
But let's just try to hone in on every time Snoopy gets barricaded on this cast.
I just watched it happen, and I was like, this guy just can't catch a break with these. Scald, nice shield timing here. Does grab an EMP, tosses it right away. We'll look for some bananas. Dropped 1 out there. The second one will be avoided here by Duzzi.
As we just continue on, that plane gonna push anyone too far back here as FINALEe Duzzi in first place for a moment. But Snoopy here on the outer line should be able to close the distance pretty quick. That water balloon actually very good. I love that water bomb coming in. Oh man, Ding's getting bullied right now. UFO picks him up right after that. I gotta say, sorry, go ahead, Wolf.
That's really cool because he actually went around that corner there. It took the outer line, as you mentioned, and then he knew exactly that. Oh,
I think it was Skull's big banana.
Yeah, get big banana.
Get big banana by your teammate, I'm pretty sure.
that water bomb was really well placed though over the wall there, and you know I don't want to harp on it too much as we're kind of beyond that now, but was really nicely done. Scald in first place here. Hong holding on to the boost. See what else he picks up here. Going to toss it out, grab a Wisp. We're still in the 2nd lap.
Yeah, going back to that water bomb, I think it's one of my favorite changes from the patch. We don't really get to appreciate it here in the observing client because we're watching everybody play, but if you're playing item mode yourself, you can now see on the mini-map on the right side of your screen when you're throwing that water bomb, where it's going to land. And these pros, even though they're very good, it's still hard to really eyeball those things. We saw in Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, there were only a couple of maps where we would often get one water bomb connect with multiple players in a high-impact moment. But ever since that patch, the water bombs have been so clutch throughout this entire regular season. It's one of my favorite changes.
Yeah, Scald wanted to not pop that shield, but he realized, at the end there, he's going to have to do it. It's kind of like knowing like a smoke location in attack shooter or something like that at some point too as well. Like once you start memorizing it with the mini-map, you could really see.
Yeah.
Shield stacked here across the board at the front. Okay, Ding picks up a missile as well. Will shield that bomb. Not 100% sure he had to do that, but was just doing it just to be safe here. Now it's just a race here towards the end of this track. Shield stack magnets up for Hong. He has 2 of those. Wish he could give it to a teammate. He's going to pop one early.
Yeah, I'm actually really liking this for Hong, man. He's going to get slowed down. Actually, we have a Thunderbolt here for Duzzi. Are there Angel Shields on the side of NUTMITE? It seems like they do, in fact, have one.
Yeah, 2 now. Wave picked up another one.
All right, Hong getting UFO'd. Magnet's getting set up here. Duzzi is probably hoping this Thunderbolt's going to get a lot done, but NUTMITE seems well prepared for it. We'll see if they're going to be able to force an ace match here, but that water bomb is absolutely huge, Wolf!
Yeah, that is massive. Now the Lightning Bolt trying to catch him on the jump, but they do make it across. Still losing a ton of momentum. Duzzi here trying to push a finish. Snoopy!
The UFO coming in, he spins out, but he still is able to cross the finish line, and we are going to go to an ace match with NUTMITE. And one of the more exciting finishes we've had here in item mode so far today.
That was a sick finish. That was so fun to watch.
Yeah, from the water bomb to the UFOs and then spinning out into the finish line.
And
just
the timing of the Lightning Bolt as well, to try to catch them on that jump. I mean, almost got 3 on the jump. That if you actually all fall into the water there and have to reset, that's the end of the race. Like, the timing on that was so sick, but it didn't work. It didn't quite work. Was a little bit off there. But it was so close to actually perfection. They still lost momentum. They still saw FINALEe take the lead until Snoopy pushed through there in the end. And we're going to an ace match. As you mentioned, it is so important for both these teams because these teams are at the bottom of our standings right now. Neither team is going to get a ton of set points from this. Obviously, you're just going to get the +1 from the victory, the 1 extra track you win. But you need that win, period. And you do not want to be going 0-5 or 1-4. One of these teams is really going to be feeling the hurt after this single ace match.
Yeah, the top 5 already here in the standings is very stacked in the KDL. In fact, Liv Sandbox had arguably, it's not even arguable, it's an undeniable fact. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. Liv Sandbox had the highest strength of schedule coming into this one by a lot. And as a result, right now, that's the team that you're trying to pass in 5th place to secure a wild card spot. So just to kind of put into perspective exactly what these teams, NUTMITE right now in position number 6, FINALEe-sports, of course, the only winless team here overall in the standings of the KDL. That's the kind of hurdle, the uphill battle that you're fighting against.
Yeah. To
try and make it into the top 5. So really, there is no room for error if you want to keep your hopes alive for either of these teams. NUTMITE, even though they're 1-3 right now, if they are able to win every single set from this one out, which obviously easier said than done, they can still make it to the postseason. There is a good chance for them. But if they drop this and they fall to 1-4 and tie with FINALEe-sports,
my money would be on Scald coming out for NUTMITE, but it almost looked like Wave was setting up here. We are going to, by the way, we didn't see this track in speed mode, but we're going to Terracotta Twister for the ace match. You love to see it.
Yeah.
We'll see who comes out. It's got to be Ding for FINALEe, right? The big fan favorite, the one who's favored in solos as well by most analysts. He's the best racer. I think we're probably going to have his current form is insane, even though his team doesn't have that much success. We'll see who gets pulled out against him. Oh, it's going to be Will, actually, in fact, here for NUTMITE. I would have thought they would have gone for Scald. You were mentioning Will, kind of the new hero for this team. Scald a little bit more experienced, but they're going to give him a chance here up against Ding, a veteran. And it all comes down to this.
Oh, man, I would love to hear that conversation that just happened with Will and one of the players on his team, as it seemed like there was a lot of information, or maybe just a pep talk that was coming in as Will, one of the younger players here in the KDL, is going to be up against the ropes in a must-win track if FINALEe wants to pick up their first win of the season. It's going to come down to Ding. If NUTMITE wants to keep their playoff hopes alive, it's going to come down to Will. Let's go to the ace match here on World Tour Terracotta Twister.
Terracotta Twister will be the battleground for this ace match. Ding versus Will, FINALEe versus NUTMITE.
And looking at the heart rates right now, you could see how experienced Ding is in this situation. He's at 81 beats per minute. I'm pretty sure us casting this have a higher heart rate than Ding. Will's at 163. This is such a high pressure moment for this kid. His team, their hopes were to go making it to the postseason. Even though we're only about halfway through, they're all on his shoulders.
He's taking a great tight line there on the inner there. Went across and then went to inner and actually got a huge amount of distance here. Now Ding going to try to match those tight lines. We know he can. But Will having that extra advantage here. Man, he's taking some really tight inners here. He's playing with fire. Ding trying to catch up. He is in drafting range, of course.
Yeah, Will also seems to be, at least for a moment there, he was about a tempo ahead on the Nitrous. Now it is equalizing in Ding. Of course, Terracotta Twister being a two-lapper will have a lot of time to close the distance, but being a fourth of a second behind Will, who is taking, as you said, these really aggressive lines and not missing a beat, it's a very scary position for the FINALEe veteran.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost perfect pace here that Will is taking. He is basically on track for a record here right now. Ding gonna have to use that extra drafting here to try to catch up on Nitros. He's got a chance here to pass.
Yeah, as he drafts, he's getting closer and closer. Both players with a full boost gauge right now as we enter the tomb section. Ding's gonna make his play. Oh, Will actually with a collision, but Ding as well right there on that wall. And look at the gap that has just been created. Ding lost so much more momentum than Will, and I don't know if he's going to be able to make up that ground.
I don't think so. Will's got a whole boost advantage over him as well. 500 meters to go, and I think he's very well aware of it. It's going to take a big mistake here from Will for Ding to catch him, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, Ding was shaking his head. Will, as soon as he crosses the finish line, that headset was coming off, and you could see what a big moment it is here for Team NUTMITE and for FINALEe. They were looking so strong to start off this map. They swept speed mode. I believe they were up, what, 1-0 or 2-0 in item mode as well. It was really close. I think they had won the first 4 tracks of this match, and it was looking like they were going to pick up their first team win so far here in the regular season, but instead NUTMITE coming through with one of the most incredible finishes I think we've seen in Terracotta Twister. Really, up until that tomb section, the collisions, it was flawless from Will. That was basically a record pace.
Yeah, it was so clean from Will, and he did make that one error, but it was at the same time that Ding was trying to make his move. And actually, ironically, weirdly enough, I feel like that one mistake actually messed up what Ding was trying to do as well, and then Ding just also faltered in that moment, and Will ends up taking it in the end. His team is so proud of him. So it'll be a 3-2 win here for NUTMITE. You know, we expected NUTMITE to win this one, you and I, going into this, just because of their previous records, how I think they've improved a lot in their last few matches. But you can't deny that FINALEe definitely is the more veteran team. They crushed in speed, and it was a tight item mode, but it's a big upset win here. Now, it's still, you need to get 5th place to get that wild card spot. And we might, they might go to wild card, right? And they need to get 5th. They're now tied with several other teams in terms of the 2 wins. FINALEe only has 2 races left, and I think mathematically, don't quote me on this, but I think mathematically they're out because one of these other teams will win at least one more time. So FINALEe just won't be able to get that 5th place spot anymore. So a crushing loss for one of our big fan favorites here.
Yeah, FINALEe-sports, I mean, this is basically the old Rock squad. They've been reeling since the retirement of Jong, who in KDL Preseason 1 and in Preseason 2 was, in my opinion, one of the most exciting players to watch. I mean, we're talking about a mobile game ace coming to the PC version of Kart Rider Drift, and he won and one preseason, it was like 5 or 6 ace matches in a row. He carried the team on his back, and then he retires. FINALEe picks up the old Rocks roster, and they haven't really been able to put it together since then. So it's sad, but this is kind of a necessary adjustment period for this team, I think, as they try to find, the missing piece to the puzzle, really.
Yeah. Will, I think, very nervous. Obviously, you saw his heart rate there, but they trusted him. He didn't choke. We see a lot of chokes in ace matches, where players make a huge mistake and end up losing everything. So it's insane for a player this young to have the team has this much trust in him, especially when you consider who else is on the roster. I thought it'd be Scald for sure, but it ends up being Will. And if he's doing this well, if he's this confident this early in his career, What's he going to look like in 2-3 years is the real question everybody's probably wondering right now.
I mean, Will is born in like, what, 2008?
Yeah.
I think, which is, I mean, I feel ancient. That's 16 years younger than me.
I mean,
So,
some
like,
players have been playing.
Oh my God.
Some of these players have been playing like professional kart riders since like before he was born.
Yeah, I'm sure Hojun is pretty close
Yeah.
to it. If not like the OG. It's
Producer just confirmed Hojun debuted in 2006. So he started playing kart rider professionally 2 years before Will was born. Just to contextualize that for everyone at home.
wow. Yeah. It's rare that we get notes from the PD like this, but I mean, for Will coming in, it's just such a tremendous moment for his career, and he shows so much potential. And the team being able to put all this confidence on this kind of rookie star that is up and coming is so exciting.
But up next, we are going to have Desperado taking on big favorites in MIRAENSEJONG, the name that is sometimes hard to say. So we're going to take a short break, everybody. When we come back, we'll have that second match.